Hi folks, thanks for joining me today. My name's Catherine from Research Rockstar, and today I'd like to talk about an organizational trend that we're seeing in the market research and insight space. And what's interesting is that this is a trend that has to do with how we run market research and insights teams. Not just teams that are perhaps an insights team within a brand, within a company, but also the teams within market research agencies, full service agencies, and other types of market research and insights related consultancies. So, for the purpose of today's conversation, when I talk about teams, it could be a team that's in an insights team at a corporation, at a brand, or it could be a team at a market research company. A team is a team no matter where. So, let me ask you a question about the team that you're involved with. Are you currently working on a team that's running lean? That is, one of the challenges you have going into the new year is that you are running a lean team. It's always interesting to me when I'm out talking to various team leaders from various types of organizations when I start to hear the same themes over and over again. And this is already a clear theme for 2019. A lot of team leaders have specific strategic initiatives that they're working on, but at the same time, they're also running really, really lean. Now, look, running lean is not unique to the market research and insights space. Just ask anybody who works in IT. So there are a lot of functional areas in corporations today and various organizations that do run lean. I get it. However, for us in market research and insights, there are a few different factors that can make running lean seem almost like a contradiction. How can we pursue these initiatives when we're specifically also trying to run lean? So let's look at some of the challenges that a lot of team leaders are facing right now in market research and insights. So one of the things that's happening is that not only are the market research and insights team leaders expected to run lean, they're expected to do it while advancing the work of their team. And the themes around advancement tend to fall into a few different buckets. One, I see a lot of teams, again, both the client side and the supplier side, working on advancing the team members' consultative skills. That is, the ability of the team members to know enough about the business problems and marketing problems and sales problems that an organization faces, that it can be truly consultative either during the research design phase or strategic planning phase, or in the design of an instrument, or in the creation of meaningful deliverables. But the goal clearly is to help team members become more consultative. This isn't a trivial thing, as anybody who's tried to do this will tell you. This does take some investment in time or money or both in order to advance a team's skills in this way. Another big initiative that is certainly prevalent in market research and insights is data fluency. And different people call this different things, but the idea is that today, as a market research and insights team, it's important for the team to have a wide variety of data sources and methodologies that they can execute. Or that they know enough about to know when to call in an expert partner, right? But if the team is a team that is really still relying heavily on surveys and focus groups as their primary ways of collecting data, it's increasingly becoming too narrow for a lot of organizations. Marketing executives, business executives, sales executives these days all know that they have a wide variety of data sources available when they're trying to understand what's going on with their customers, what's going on with their market. They have many, many options these days. They don't default to one standard type of data or data source. So if they're working with a team that tends to default to the traditional primary market research methods, there can be a bit of a disconnect there, and we want to avoid that. We don't want to lose credibility. And frankly, as I've talked about in some of the other episodes in this series, some of the big management consulting companies like McKinsey have been talking about this for a while now, about the importance of having people in an organization that can translate between the business needs and data needs. And that means not only having that ability to be consultative, but also the ability to truly have the ability to match the needs, the problem, the challenges that we're trying to address with whatever combination of data sources and methodologies makes the most sense, even in cases where some of those data sources may be outside of the traditional scope of market research and insights. Still, advancing your team's consultative skills and data fluency skills while running lean seems like a bit of a contradiction, right? If I'm running lean, I probably have fewer people, and yet I'm expected to not only have adequate resources for executing projects, but I'm also expected to have a wider and more significant, shall we say, depth of expertise, both on the consultative side and on the data fluency side. So how do I expand our knowledge and skills while reducing the team? It seems like somewhat of a challenge. The third big challenge that I see in a lot of teams is that there are a lot of teams, I think this is just about universal, that are running not only lean while trying to do these things, but they're also trying to reduce the need to insight lifecycle. And just for the purpose of a definition, let's say that the need to insight lifecycle is the cycle from day one being you've identified a need for a market research and insights project or engagement of some kind. And the last day is the day that you deliver those amazing, well-synthesized results that are perceived credibly and objectively and actually ignite insight. So let's call that the need to insight life cycle. That time period is always shrinking. Fast keeps getting faster. So not only are the team leaders expected to do all these wonderful things with advancing their team's skills while running lean, they're also expected to do things faster while running lean. So it does seem to be a bit of a challenge. So what are we going to do about it? So those folks who are in team leadership positions, how do they do it all? Are they, whether or not they're really pursuing all three of the initiatives is one thing. But even if you're just running lean and only pursuing one or two, these are still not trivial things. To advance a team's consultative skills or data fluency skills or to reduce the life cycle of a project, these are all significant accomplishments. And doing them while running lean seems a little bit challenging. So what are our options? Well, there are a bunch of different options, but what I often hear folks talk about these days is about upskilling. Now, granted, I'm a little biased here since I'm in the training business, but upskilling could be coming from in-house coaching or mentoring or other things as well. But one of the options is absolutely about upskilling the team. Another option is automation. Now, the level of automation that different teams invest in, well, it varies quite a lot. It seems to somewhat vary depending on the size of the team and leadership's point of view. You know, sometimes you have a leader who really has got that attitude of let's automate as much as we can that makes sense so that we can free up the human brains for the more perhaps consultative work, for more of the robust methodology planning that we would get to with a truly data fluent approach to things. And some organizations take a more measured approach to deploying automation. But still, if I'm trying to do more with a lean team, upskilling and automation are two important options. They're definitely part of the equation for many teams. But there's also another thing that's come up that I think is really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to watching how it evolves this year. And that has to do with the more strategic use of partnerships. Now, market research and insights folks have always had partnerships. And by the way, this applies whether you work in corporate insights or you work at a full-service market research agency. If you work in corporate insights, you may have certain partners that you work with that you outsource entire projects to, or maybe you outsource certain types of projects to, or maybe you just bring them in for a specific area of expertise. If you work in a market research supplier at a full-service agency, well, those folks outsource too, right? They might be outsourcing to partners who have a specific skill set that they don't have or geographic reach they don't have, and so on. So all teams do some level of outsourcing. But what I'm sensing now, or what I'm observing really, is that it's not just outsourcing, it really is a partnership. And I know that might sound like a sort of a superficial distinction, but it's really not. It has to do more with being collaborative and being iterative. It has more to do with not just giving somebody a project and delegating it to them, but having a true interactive collaborative relationship. It becomes a more fluid exchange of expertise between the teams that are involved. And very often now, it's not necessarily a one-way delegation. It's much more of a mesh, if you will, of interactions between the teams. So it's not just about outsourcing. We seem to be seeing an increased use of more interactive strategic partnerships, which I think is really interesting. So I think 2019 is going to be a very interesting year. We continue to go through a lot of changes in the market research and insight space, but I definitely see for a lot of teams this challenge of running lean while trying to advance the team's work in terms of being consultative and being data fluent and being fast is definitely a challenge for a lot of organizations. So we'll have to kind of see how the year evolves in terms of how different teams end up deploying upskilling, automation, and partnerships to really advance the work while running lean. I hope the conversation today has been useful for you. If you did enjoy the conversation, please note that this is actually related to a much longer article that is available on the Research Rockstar website. So if you go over to researchrockstar.com and click on blog, there's a longer version of this article that I used for the purpose of today's conversation. And of course, please do subscribe and like. The more subscribes we get on either YouTube or on iTunes really does help us to keep this series going. So on behalf of myself and the rest of the folks at Research Rockstar, thanks so much for joining me here today. And if you have any questions or comments, please do leave them or feel free to tweet them to me at Research Rocks. Thanks.